Welcome G.I. Joe enthusiasts and Cobra conspirators alike to yet another marvelous video. Today we go deep into the metal-clad mastermind world of one of the most iconic villains in the G.I. Joe universe, Destro. From his origins and cunning strategies to his complicated love life, we're peeling back layers, and yes, even the metal ones, to uncover just what makes Destro tick. So get ready folks to witness the birth, rise, and fall of the man behind the mask. Welcome to Marvelous Video's Destro Origins Explained. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Destro? James McCullum IV is a descendant of a family of Scottish arms dealers. Despite his financial and personal allegiance to Cobra, Destro remains a public profile as the leader of the family firm, the M.A.R.S Corporation, Military Armament Research Institute. One of his ancestors was sentenced to wear an iron mask as a punishment centuries ago after being found supplying weapons to both sides in a war. This family history is also represented in his distinctive mask. He turned this mask into the family mark, and the head of the family is supposed to wear it every generation to take over the clan and the family company. Destro was born in Scotland's calendar. He's the Laird of the Highlands of Scotland's Castle Destro. In the corporate world, he's astute and unyielding. He employs mercenaries to incite unrest in specific areas, enabling him to sell the company's advanced armaments to any interested party at a willing price. In keeping with his family's custom, he will also sell weapons to both sides in the same war. When Destro first appeared, he was the Cobra soldier's field command. The Cobra Commander claimed that Destro was intended to be Hawk's opposite, just as he was General Flagg's. During that period, not much information was disclosed about Destro, to the extent that his face was hidden for multiple concerns other than the fact that he and the Baroness were already acquainted. It was soon discovered that they were romantically attracted to one another and that Destro had joined Cobra in order to explore his feelings for the Baroness. From then on, events took an extremely convoluted turn as Destro and Cobra Commander repeatedly plotted against one another, eventually leading to Cobra Commander brainwashing both Destro and the Baroness to guarantee their allegiance. After they managed to get away and finally shrug off the mind control, Destro became determined to cut his ties to Cobra and eventually create the Iron Grenadiers, his own private army. Destro has shown himself to be both a friend and an adversary of G.I. Joe over the years. Although he typically works alone or sides with Cobra, he has teamed with him more frequently than any other Cobra agent, either for financial gain or to uphold a duty of honor. Because of his honor, he once prevented the entire G.I. Joe team from being completely shut down by disclosing information about some weapon agreements made between M.A.R.S and a specific shadow cabinet in the Pentagon. Destro loves the Baroness, Cobra's second in command, and exhibits dignity and composure. It's possible that she is the object of his loyalty. Though it seems as though he has no allegiance, he will fight alongside Cobra or against him using his own Iron Grenadiers, depending on which is more advantageous for business. Destro despises the G.I. Joe squad for squandering their combat prowess on upholding peace, despite his admiration for them and their fighting abilities. Terrifying story arc of Destro. In the Marvel Comics continuity, Destro considers himself to be a guy of honor who only seems to understand morality. He has supported the commander more times than he has opposed him, and if it benefits the company, he will work with the G.I. Joe squad. With such erratic devotion, he's grown to admire and make friends with a wide spectrum of people, including Zartan, Lady J, Flint, and the commander's estranged son Billy. The G.I. Joe Reloaded continuity has the McCullens as an ancient Scottish clan known for producing weaponry that has been in the industry since the 13th century. The peace between England and Scotland was broken by Henry Plantagenet, the English monarch. The McCullens refused to pay the new taxes he instituted. With the exception of the patriarch, John McCullen, who was taken prisoner, he exacted revenge by having members of the McCullen clan slaughtered. A nobleman such as John McCullen could never be justifiably imprisoned by the king, who made him wear a steel mask to hide his identity. Many centuries and generations later, James McCullen, the present descendant, is still a well-known figure in British society while secretly carrying out subversive actions under the pseudonym Destro. Cobra Commander approached him about forming an alliance with Cobra because of their shared origins and the resources he could offer. Although at first disdainful of Cobra Commander, Destro grew interested in his revolutionary schemes and readiness to see them through. In order to accomplish this, he consented to give Cobra the tools and materials required to execute their objectives. In the Action Force British Comics continuity, continuity, the Destro family ruled from their ominous stronghold, Castle Destro. Established during the Crusades, their lineage was not known for their piety, but for their profitable arms trade, switching sides more frequently than a chameleon at a rainbow convention. Young Destro started his career under the tutelage of his father, running guns for various clients, including a certain enigmatic Arab named Farouk. This mentorship went swimmingly until the senior Destro discovered his son's ambitious schemes and gave him a stern lecture. Destro Jr., not one for critiques, shot his father and took the iconic silver mask, claiming that the family business needs to be revitalized. Now head of the family enterprise, Destro kept close ties with Cobra, the infamous terrorist organization. He sold them weapons, but always had a side hustle, sometimes even willing to deal with Action Force if they could afford his exorbitant rates. Destro's adventures continued with a series of cunning plots and deadly encounters. From escaping sabotaged weapons deals and foiling nerve gas threats to critiquing Cobra Commander's vision of world domination, Destro kept himself busy. His cunning plans often involved leaking just enough information to keep Action Force occupied while he pursued his own agenda. In Destro's appearance in the Transformers G.I. Joe continuity, his true role was never disclosed when he was first identified as a member of the Cobra organization in 1939, but it was obvious that he occupied a position of considerable rank and authority. He ordered the development of Bruticus as part of a plot with Starscream to topple the Megatron Cobra Commander leadership in the Decepticon-Cobra alliance, which ultimately resulted in Cobra's defeat. Exploring Destro's abilities and equipment. In addition to having received extensive military training, Destro is among Cobra's most accomplished operatives ever. He's a skilled weapon inventor, a brilliant thinker, and a cunning businessman. Additionally, he has a great deal of personal charisma, but it does seem to wane at times, particularly when the Baroness is not present to inspire him. Destro's distinctive gear consists of his wrist rockets, a fully armored outfit, and a beryllium steel mask modeled from the rudimentary iron device used by his forefathers. These are two anti-tank grenades set atop a pressure rocket system, a feat of engineering exclusive to his gauntlets. These tiny rockets had shown themselves to be powerful enough to destroy an F-15 in a single shot. Mind-blowing appearance of Destro in other forms of media. Destro, the steel-faced and cold-hearted villain, has made many appearances across different media, especially in the animated series. Voiced by Arthur Burkhart of the Sunbow animated series, Destro is not just any lackey in Cobra's army. No, this guy has brains. More specifically, he's the mastermind behind the invention of the M.A.R.S device. However, as Destro will soon find out, even a genius like himself can be pushed to the edge by Cobra Commander's flair for the dramatic. Having to watch Cobra Commander prance around in front of them, all while boasting of the power, without any long-term strategy, had Destro's steel mask rust from pure frustration. But wait, there is more. In his frustration, Destro takes matters into his own hands and makes himself appear as Cobra's new leader. That is, of course, until the Joes crash his party and ruin his great plan. It's just another day in Destro's life, where genius has to tolerate a chronic migraine as a gift from his overly flamboyant boss. But that is not all. Destro teams up with the ever-conspiring Dr. Mindbender and Crimson Twins to develop Serpentor, the new Cobra Emperor. At the start, Serpentor showed a lot of promise, but soon enough, Destro's confidence started falling faster than Cobra's latest scheme as Serpentor's leadership nosed to disaster. Moving over to the DC animated series, Destro, voiced by Scott McNeil, still has a few irons firing in the fire and some hearts to break. His love life? It's safe to say it's complicated. Picture having to juggle Baroness with Zarana, then effortlessly dumping Zarana like a bad habit when Baroness proved her loyalty. Nothing says, "I'm back, baby," like publicly humiliating your ex by dumping her through a trap door. The cinematic birth of Destro in G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra simply adds another layer to his already complex personality. Enter James McCullen, a seemingly upstanding scientist and businessman with a quite less than secret love of global domination. McCullen oversees the M.A.R.S Industries Black Nanomite project. Things get hot when an accident leaves him sporting a face of hardened silver. Talk about a bad day at the office. Finally, Cobra Commander baptizes him as Destro, and from there, McCullen is locked into a game of Who's the Boss, with a very sinister twist. Spoiler, it is not Tony Danza. In G.I. Joe: Retaliation, Destro's story enjoys a Shakespearean twist. Storm Shadow stages a prison break for him and Cobra Commander, but Cobra Commander proves that he is, in fact, a jerk to everyone and orders his evil little soldiers soldiers to leave poor Destro behind. And there he presumably remains, sitting in some prison cell, contemplating the irony of it all. It is the villain's version of being left out in the cold, only at this point with more explosions. Dark facts about Destro explored. Destro, created by Larry Hama, was initially conceived as only a War Master action figure for the G.I. Joe series. From this, Hama discussed how he envisioned the character as Cobra's field commander, who operated from an oil tanker, Valkyrie. Destro's individuality rapidly developed him into a ruthless arms dealer who became central to the Cobra organization. This transformation really marked his creation as the chief armorer for Cobra, truly integral to the G.I. Joe universe. On the other hand, James McCullen Destro the 24th is from a Scottish family of arms dealers. It was an ancestor who started wearing a steel mask as punishment for selling weapons to both sides during the English Civil War. A symbol of betrayal, the mask then became like a badge of honor passed on to generations. Each one would don the mask, signifying he was the head of the family and he was to carry on the family's tradition as arms dealers. One of Destro's most interesting ties to G.I. Joe occurred during the Vietnam War. Before becoming Destro, a young James McCullen traveled with his father, the head of the family. McCullen went on a trip to sell weapons to the South Vietnamese. What happened on that trip is that they crossed paths with several Americans and other agents, among whom was a humanitarian named Baron Eugene de Cobra. When Viet Cong agents murdered de Cobra, an American soldier whose identity would not be revealed until much later was framed for the crime. The father uses his knowledge of ballistics to prove the soldier's innocence. The soldier eventually becomes the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes, which is an early but indirect connection between the McCullen family and G.I. Joe. Destro's power doesn't come simply from his affiliation with Cobra. The man actually commands his own private army, the Iron Grenadiers. Compared to Cobra, the Iron Grenadiers are an army that fights for money and not for loyalty or ideology. This Destro-funded private army, fully equipped with high-tech weapons, once scared even the Cobra Commander. The Iron Grenadiers symbolize Destro's independence and the ability to work independently away from Cobra. The source of Destro's incredible wealth and power comes in the form of M.A.R.S. Industries, the largest weapons manufacturer in the world. This company, built upon the pooled wealth of generations upon generations of arms dealing, produces high-end products and sells them to governments worldwide. Publicly, M.A.R.S. is totally above board, but it secretly outfits Cobra with the advanced weaponry needed for their plans and schemes. Without Destro and M.A.R.S., most of Cobra's bluster would be empty threats. Destro's metal mask is not strictly a family heirloom, but rather a device of multiple functions. The mask forms Destro's face, able to reproduce his facial expressions, and comes color-coded for the many shifting allegiances that he undergoes. The silver color for his original role, and gold for his function as the leader of the Iron Grenadiers. More importantly, the mask is fitted with defenses against removal attempts, with various tools such as hidden explosives, which underscores its significance beyond mere tradition. Destro also saved G.I. Joe once in 1990. The United States generals, known as jugglers, secretly purchased weapons from Destro and used the Joes to back up Serpentor against Cobra Commander. As the jugglers tried to discredit the Joes, Destro produced the receipts and saved them from disbandment. This gesture of honor proved Destro was a much more sophisticated character, capable of respecting his enemies and possessing some kind of honor. Throughout the years, Destro's mask has been passed on to more than just one individual. Apart from James McCullen Destro the 24th, there came a time when his son Alexander McCullen took over the mantle when his father had become invalid. In the UK comic series Battle Action Force, a character called Red Jackal was scarred in an accident. He was later renamed as Destro. Marvelous verdict, and that marks the end of yet another marvelous video. Diving into the origins of such an iconic character from G.I. Joe was certainly exciting. From his origins as a Scottish noble to the dark but surprising facts, it was interesting to see what drove this character. So that's it for today's video. Which character do you want us to take a look at next? Let us know all about it in the comments down below. And if you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. It means the world to us when you help us grow. Until next time, guys, have a good one. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.